This episode of Grist from the Mill is entitled Financial Markets and the Stars. Investors have chased an edge in predicting markets for as long as organized trading has existed, often reaching well past spreadsheets and balance sheets to find one. In 18th century Osaka, the rice trader Munehisa Homma built the price charting method that became the modern candlestick chart, combining decades of price data with observations on weather, crop conditions, and trader psychology to anticipate the next move in Japan's Dojima rice market. A century and a half later, the American trader W.D. Gann built a career forecasting stocks and commodities using a mix of geometry, time cycle analysis, and horoscopes cast for individual markets, arguing that planetary timing was the hidden order behind price action. Even mainstream economics has flirted with celestial explanations. In the 1870s, economist William Stanley Jevons proposed that sunspot cycles drove agricultural output and through it, the broader business cycle. And the impulse hasn't disappeared. Contemporary researchers have published peer-reviewed studies testing whether stock returns differ measurably between new moon and full moon periods, findings that remain debated and so far unproven as a reliable trading edge. None of these systems have outperformed disciplined, evidence-based investing over time. But the persistence of the search says something real about investor psychology. Markets are complex, humans are pattern-seeking, and a symbolic framework can feel like control when outcomes are genuinely uncertain. We borrow that same impulse toward pattern and narrative, not to forecast markets, but to make behavioral finance more memorable. Each sign strength and risk below maps to a named, studied concept in behavioral finance. The sign is a mnemonic for a bias, not a predictor of behavior. The bias is real and well documented. The zodiac is the delivery mechanism, not the mechanism of action. The chart begins the conversation. The numbers build the plan. First, Aries. This archetype represents overconfidence bias, the tendency to prefer action over inaction. But in the markets, high turnover often correlates with lower net returns. Next is Taurus, mirroring the status quo bias. It's that disproportionate preference for the current state of affairs, often leading investors to hold on to losing positions far too long. Gemini represents choice overload. When faced with too many options, we often fall into the diversification fallacy or simply become paralyzed by analysis. Cancer myopic loss aversion. Losses are felt roughly twice as intensely as equivalent gains, and checking a portfolio frequently amplifies that pain, the myopic part. This produces both excess cash holding and reluctance to take on necessary risk for long-term goals. Leo, social proof and self-attribution bias decisions shaped by visible status cues, plus a tendency to credit good outcomes to skill and bad ones to bad luck. Together, they drive performance chasing and expensive signaling purchases that don't show up in an actual financial plan. Virgo analysis paralysis over choice. Excess information and options can lower decision quality and delay action indefinitely. The instinct toward research is a genuine strength. The failure mode is when the search for a perfect answer becomes a way to avoid a good enough one. Libra decision, fatigue, and herd seeking. Repeated decision-making depletes the quality of subsequent decisions, which pushes toward outsourcing judgment to the last person consulted or the loudest consensus. Not indecisiveness as a character flaw, a well-documented cognitive resource problem. Scorpio, concentration, risk, and confirmation. Bias, deep focus is an asset until it narrows the information diet to sources that confirm an existing conviction, and until conviction turns into an oversized single position. The academic term for the latter is home bias when it's geographic, or simply concentration risk more broadly. Sagittarius optimism, bias, and overconfidence. A well-studied tendency to overestimate the likelihood of good outcomes and underestimate downside scenarios, distinct from Aries' action bias. This is about the forecast being skewed, not just the urge to act on it. Capricorn hedonic adaptation and present bias suppression. Achievement keeps resetting the goalpost, hedonic treadmill, while enjoyment gets systematically deferred. The irony is that this is present bias running in reverse, sacrificing present well-being for a future that keeps receding. Aquarius novelty preference and recency bias. Emerging themes get overweighted because they're new, and because recent performance is wrongly extrapolated forward. This is the same mechanism behind sector bubbles generally, just filtered through a personality lens. Pisces affect heuristic and narrative fallacy decisions driven by how a story feels rather than what the numbers say. The affect heuristic explains why a compelling narrative can override due diligence, and it's the same vulnerability that makes emotionally resonant scams effective. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to building a better plan. The numbers build the plan, but the biases run the show. It's personal to you, and that's why it's personal to me.